what I meant when I came up with this idea was, over the course of 2020, people were saying, and rightfully so, that this was probably the worst year for them on record for a ton of reasons.
Right.
But what I started to notice was people were starting to blame the year 2020 for so many things that were going wrong. And it was just, the thought process seemed to be, well, it's just because it's 2020. You know, I dropped my cell phone and cracked the screen. 2020 strikes again. And everything started to get blamed on 2020. Like, I stared at a girl for 47 seconds and she called the police. There's 2020 again. It's like, and I posted this on social media and I said, what are you going to do when 2020 ends and it's January 1st, 2021? Right. What is, you can't pin all of your problems on 2020. And what I noticed was, as soon as January 1st rolled around, 2020's gone, but people are still in love with this negativity. Everything sucks. Why should we even engage in politics? It's all bad. Republicans are bad. Democrats are bad. It's everybody's terrible. We're just all going to die. The pandemic is going to kill us all. And it's just like everything is bad all the time. And yes, things are tough. But I started to notice people kind of, the negativity became the default. It became the default assumption. If you walk into a situation with no idea of whether it's good or bad, it's bad. Let's just go to bad as a default and hope that we're surprised. Right. So that's kind of what I mean. I know you've noticed that because we talk about it, but talk about how you've kind of, your experiences with that. And I'm going to drink water while you do it. And I'm going to turn my mic down so no one hears me swallow, because that's gross.
I mean, there's so many examples like over the year of just, you know, people just getting into negative habits. I mean, between, you know, people at work, I mean, myself, and almost like where like that's the default, as if, you know, like it's, at least that's the known, and like, you know, like, okay, this is how it's going to go and it's just going to be this way. And it's hard. And I know, especially with the pandemic and a lot of like people not knowing, like, you know, it being hard to plan for the future. And that I understand being, you know, a way that's hard to continue to have that, like, not faith, but like, structure, and just being able to be like, okay, I know what I'm going to be able to do. And, you know, am I going to be able to take this trip or do that or whatever? But at the same time, like you said, it's like, that's also all stuff that's kind of going on outside of of you. And it's sort of, it's easy to continue to just think like it's always going to go this way, or it's not going to get better, or, you know, there's nothing that I can do. And it's like, I've seen a lot of people, myself included, like feel that way. And it's comfortable there, you know. It is, but it's dangerous. It's not a place you want to stay.
I think that what I've noticed, and I agree with that 100%. And I think that you mentioned that comfort, and I think that what I've seen, and I'm going to talk about myself, and I want us to get more personal. Like in part 2, we're going to talk about ourselves, and in part 3, we're going to talk about how we kind of try to pull ourselves out of that, and how, like, what should you do when you see other people like traveling the same path that you travel? How much should you get involved? But that's coming up. But, you know, I think that comfort that you speak of is so important, because as bad as it is, at least it's a known. And not only is it a known, but it's also, if it's somewhat out of your control, then you don't have to own that responsibility. So if 2020 just sucks and it's just bad, well, I don't have to check my behavior, because what's the point? Everything is bad and it's out of my control.
Right. And there's no like accountability.
Yeah. And as scary as that is, well, yeah, it's scary, but like it doesn't say anything about me, because I'm free. I don't have any responsibility. So I'm not a bad person. Everything is just terrible. Or not. When I say bad person, I mean that like if people don't want to put in the work to change and be better, it's easier to attribute that your shortcomings to some outside source of why things are bad. So if I was a terrible person to you and then you stop talking to me, well, 2020 strikes again. Sarah doesn't talk to me anymore. When really I'm just a jerk to you and I need to change my behavior. You know, and I think that's comforting though, if I never have to face accountability for my own actions. I just accept everything is terrible. So I've seen that a lot. And I just want to grab people by both shoulders, people who I love, and shake them and say, it doesn't have to be that way. But as we learned in Birdemic, you can't always do that.